The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Good afternoon. Well, unfortunately, I can't give you an update of what's happening on the Mountain Road because the DOI matrix signs aren't linked through to their website at the moment. So I'm guessing there's fog on the Mountain Road. I'm guessing you shouldn't be driving a high-sided vehicle, but no official word from the DOI on that. But I'm sure they get the software together. Official word, though, it is blowing a hoolie today, so if you want an up-to-date scenario of what's going on, we've got a live blog, a weather and disruption update page at manxradio.com. Officially, time to put on the kettle and don't go out if you don't want to. The amenity site in Douglas, is staying closed for now. They're reviewing the situation at 2 this afternoon. There are trees down Strang Road between the roundabout in Union Mills. The road's blocked and closed. King Edward Road, Groudle, one carriageway is blocked. Passable with care, although there are some workers in the road. So NSC says it's closed some of its sites for safety reasons today. The Blue Synthetic Pitch and Athletics Track and Perimeter Raceway will reopen at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But if you want all the information, go to manxradio.com. We have that live blog on today. Howard's first on today. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Basically what it is just a bit of information for the public. Several weeks ago, there was an advert both in the papers and on the Manx radio websites, etc., of the introduction, the very first introduction of the £2 coin with King Charles's head. And it was in a presentation card, etc. And I thought, oh, that's ideal. I'll buy some of them and I'll send them away to our relatives in the UK, and I'll get a couple for here. And since then, and I'm saying 2, maybe even 3 weeks now, I've been trying the various post offices around town, and nobody knows when they're going to be in, if they're going to be in, or anything. And even in the other day, I was in Strand Street and went into what we term now as the General Post Office, the one in the Strand Street, and they had the same opinion. We don't know anything about them. We haven't heard. So, out of frustration, about an hour ago, I rang up the coin and philatelic place up there in the Cool. And apparently, they don't send them down to the post offices now because they are termed as a private business. And they are sub-post offices, and the majority of them are in Spar shops. So, in other words, the Spar now would have to order them. So if you want these coins, you have to either go up to the Cool, where the Philatelic Bureau is, or you order them. Now, they're not going to get a great deal of sales. Like myself this morning, I just said, oh, well. The chap that answered the phone was polite, courteous, and helpful, but his hands were tied. But if they're advertising these as a gift, there's only one place you can buy them.
And that's from the Cool.
Well, it's seemingly so. And he said, you can order them. He said, you can order them from me. But what's the point in that? That not everybody, if I didn't have a vehicle, I couldn't get up there.
But not only that, Howard, what about point of sale? What about promotion? What about the impulse purchase? If people see them, that's the whole point of Christmas. It's buying stuff for people that you didn't know about.
Yep. We used to have, where that 1886 is now, I know this is going back, but they did have a philatelic counter there.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, and I've purchased bits and pieces, and as you rightly say, some of them were on the spur of the moment. Oh, hey, that looks good, I'll have it. And I just wanted these for the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. And I wanted several, and some will be going across. So, as they're the first of the Manx ones, there's nothing spectacular about them. It's just that they're different. And, it was just something extra for Christmas to go in with the parcels. But without going up to the Cool or ordering through the Cool, That is about the sum total of places where you can get them.
So they said that the post office is now, what, a private business?
Yep, they are a private business, and for all intents and purposes, they're sub-post offices, and they're run as a sub-post office. In other words, Spa, alias the brewery, would have to order these in and have them there on the shelf or whatever. And they're at £2 value, and they're essentially on a card, and they're a Christmas thing. And they're on a card ready for handing to the recipient, whoever they're going to go to.
Well, and for £2, it's a great impulse purchase, and it's also promoting the Isle of Man. And all coins are kind of things that people keep, and they look at them and keep them as a keepsake.
Souvenir.
Yeah.
I know some of our grandchildren have got some. They go back 20 and 30 years. And a lot further back than that, I've got some here in the house, and they used to come in a little plastic case. Now, I don't know whether these do, but this is another idiosyncrasy of the government, where they have a business like that. They have a philatelic bureau that's out in the middle of the desert where people can't get to it. As you rightly say, you cannot have walk in, I'll have one of them for our Fred. And they buy it, but no, the Isle of Man seems to be wanting to be, or the government want to hide the Isle of Man away behind some screen, and this is just another example of it, I'm sorry to say.
You would have thought, the one place that springs to mind, I take anybody who's a visitor to the Isle of Man to the Welcome Centre in the sea terminal, because there's lots of stuff in the Welcome Centre that you can't get elsewhere. You can't get everything together. So you would have thought, and that's a government business. Surely they should have stuck some in the Welcome Centre.
Well, I haven't checked that. That's one thing I can honestly say. I haven't been down there to check that. They may well have, and they may well come on. But this chap never said that. He said you can order them from me, which meant ringing up, giving my name and address, card details and everything, and instead of just walking into a shop and saying, I'll have a couple of three of them.
And of course, impulse purchases are what tourists buy. Something to remember the Isle of Man by.
Yeah. There's people still coming to the Isle of Man. We got these football teams. We had all the netball teams this week, which the Isle of Man's come out on top, I believe. But they seem to live in a cocoon. We'll produce, and they're face value, and they are legal tender.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to lose anything by buying them. If you get on hard times, there's a couple of quid there, take that with you. But that's on the joking side of it. But people do buy them as souvenirs, and £2, and it is legal tender. You're not going to lose anything by it.
Okay, all right, Howard, appreciate that.
Let's see what they come up with, any answers or otherwise, or it's just another one of these things that's going to be forgotten about.
Well, it might just be nice to know if you can buy them anywhere else. If anybody sells them, by all means, just get in touch with us. Yeah,
well, I'll be listening anyway, and be interested, because I'm still interested in buying some.
Okay, thanks, Howard.
Take care, bye now.
All right, 12:15, filthy lunchtime it is in terms of the weather, but apparently it's getting a lot better. And I've got a couple of notes in. Mike just called in to say the bookshop in Castle Street have got the Christmas £2 coins, so that's there. Julian's on now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, it's pretty spectacular waves down in the southwest of the island at the moment.
Something else, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, I noticed actually, speaking of weather, the Washington Examiner reported that New York City has had extremely heavy snow recently. And as part of the Department of Sanitation's Clean Fleet Plan, it's got a new fleet of 7 electric Mack snowplows costing $523,000 each, and were deployed a few days ago. Unfortunately, the usual 12-hour shift duty wasn't possible as the snowplows ran out of battery after 2 hours.
Oh, dear.
Apparently, New York City Sanitation Department has permanently abandoned the electric snowplow idea.
I wonder whose big idea that was.
Well, I seem to remember New York had signed up to those C40 cities, so I suppose perhaps they're thinking 15-minute city thing with, smart grids and stuff like that. So,
the best of luck with a 15-minute city in Manhattan, getting everybody over from New Jersey. That'd be a great idea.
Well, yeah, but 10, 11 million people would be a bit difficult, I think.
Cycling over the George Washington, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to comment on last weekend's news article about the longest established egg producer on the island, Farragher's free-range eggs, being forced to close because government has discovered that Mezeron shipping don't hold the relevant import licences. I would have thought the Isle of Man DEFRA Minister, Claire Barber, would be able to sort that out very quickly, perhaps even by the end of business today. I noticed in her manifesto in 2021, she said there's a need for fast-paced policy making and the importance of politicians being clear when they have got things wrong. But if Farragher Eggs is allowed to fail because of bureaucratic red tape, I'm going to tell you what, Andy, this is going to follow on. It's not very long ago. What we've got Moore's Smokehouse recently closing. You've got Ratcliffe's Butchers in Castletown saying that local business factors were something. I don't know if it was the parking or whatever it was. Malley's Butchers closed in Port Erin in recent times. Ramsey Bakery. I don't know.
ShopRite.
Well, it seems to me the only beneficiary from the loss of local food competition on the island would be a large supermarket chain, wouldn't it?
The thing is, I've been thinking a lot about this, and we've been chatting about this within the news and current affairs people here. And we're trying to figure out when this all started. Was this COVID? Was it before COVID? Because looking beyond COVID, we can't quite remember how things work. Well, not that clearly anyway. But one thing is plain, as you say, that Manx businesses are disappearing and disappearing quite. As you say, that's kind of half a dozen this year that are going.
That's right. And, you look back at, say, for example, you look at the fact that Mezeron, for some amazing reason to do with a bit of paper that I would have thought could be done, let's get it done by tomorrow, shall we, so that they can bring chickens or poulets or whatever it is over back to the island. Why aren't we breeding our own chickens here? We've got our own legislation. We've never even been in the EU, and whether or not, I don't know what the exports are, but if it's going to mean food self-security, I would have thought, maybe somebody just needs to think about maybe we should start. It's more than 10 years since we had Manx-produced chicken meat here. Perhaps it's time that we actually had a rethink on that one.
The great unspoken, though, is, Julian, and you only have to go inside places like Tesco to realise a lot of people don't join the dots between buying Manx and the Manx economy surviving. A lot of people will simply go for the cheapest article, won't buy Manx meat, won't buy Manx eggs, won't buy Manx baked bread. They just won't, purely because either they don't understand it or they don't care.
All you've got to do is a cursory glance in any of the ShopRites at the moment, especially some of the pre-done stuff. It's Tesco all the way. All the different makes that you had, and even, Bakewell tarts and stuff, it's all starting to vanish and appear as either a Tesco finest or a Tesco made. So, that kind of the choice of actually getting different makes seems to be disappearing fast in what was known as ShopRite. I don't know. What should we call it? Shopco or Tesrite? I'm not sure.
So what do we do then for people who either don't understand or simply don't care and just say, it's my money, I'm going to spend it how I want? So if we join the dots, let's just take Laxey Mills, okay? They're storing flour at the moment. They're storing grain there at the moment. I think they got 2 years worth to store, but no milling wheat was sown on the Isle of Man this year, so no crop of that. So who knows what's going to happen to the mills, because the mill's output was used by Ramsey Bakery. Ramsey Bakery is gone, therefore no use for it, or not much use for it. So again, the connection is, if we're not using Manx milled wheat, the farmers aren't going to sow it, and there's another bit that's gone. And that would seem to have implications where food security is concerned on the Isle of Man. Here we are, 24 hours without a boat because of Storm Debbie, and, there will be no bread because it all comes up, the majority of it now comes from across.
Mm. And, even if we had the option, let's say the boat was something else wrong with it, the rumours are that the MV Arrow is being rented out up at the Outer Hebrides at the moment, which is probably not good timing. The Ben seems to be stuck in Belfast. I think somebody mentioned last week that something went wrong with the anchor and tore a hole in the front of the boat, so whether or not that's being fixed at the moment. But in terms of the food security, whether or not you watch the TV, but if you look at the B20 in Indonesia that ran concurrently with the G20, Klaus Schwab was talking about blockization, where he had a vision of mass food production in a centralized area on each continent, and basically everyone would just have to take what they would get from there. So it just makes you wonder, is that what's the plan? Is it sort of removing everyone's ability to produce their own food, so it will be done in some huge food production facility?
I would have thought, Julian, when we were locked down in COVID, when we were sitting here with our arms folded looking at everybody else who had COVID and we didn't have any on the Isle of Man, you would have thought there was lots of reflection and navel gazing about our position and our security, our food security, and the fact that we needed resilience in our systems. And it seems now that, the way of the world is the way of the world. Industry and commerce will do its stuff, and Isle of Man Enterprises ShopRite has been sold to Tesco. That's their decision. Fine, they had 50 years of it on the Isle of Man. Of course, when ShopRite started, they did put people out of business on the Isle of Man because of the type of business that they were. So I just wonder whether we've come to any sort of conclusion about what our food resilience should be, or whether we just don't care, or we just say, I'm going to buy the cheapest thing possible.
And yet, a wave of a pen would get Mezeron sorted out, I would have thought. Meanwhile, did I hear this morning over $500,000's been spent on checking up on what Erie Staines wind is, although I would have thought if there were any turbines up there at the moment, they wouldn't even be moving with curtailment from the... I reckon it's a bit more than 56 miles an hour up on the top there at the moment.
Which brings me to Wednesday night at the Station Hotel in Port St Mary. I understand you've got an announcement.
Well, there's some people going on there as well. There's Graham Fox-Hume's going to be talking about geothermal, which sounds very interesting as well. I think that's probably the most important thing. Is actually if we're going to talk about security. Something like geothermal might be just the way to go these days, because if we're not going to have Kroger gas and we're going to be shackled to the UK, and they seem to be taking more and more of their percentage from France. So again, is that blockization of electricity, where we'll end up having electricity delivered to us from Europe, effectively?
So listen,
anyway.
Yes, you've got a meeting on Wednesday, Station Hotel in Station Road, Port St Mary, and I understand former MHK Peter Caron's going to be there as well.
Yeah, that would be interesting, actually. Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear his take on everything.
Okay, right. So no doubt we'll have a Manx Radio microphone there on the night, Julian. Is there going to be any refreshments, or do we have to pay at the bar?
No idea. Actually, no idea.
All right. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Good to hear from you. And Viv's with us. Hi, Viv.
Hiya. I support everything that Julian's just said. I'm very friendly with Mrs. Farragher, and she works hard, and I think it's a crying shame that this has happened to her. She's very sincere, she delivers eggs, she does everything, and she does an awful lot also for Andrea's school in encouraging the young people to grow their own crops. Now, come on, we're supposed to be looking after ourselves and looking after our communities. Why can't government, like you say, sign a piece of paper so she can do what she's been doing, and it's only that somebody squealed that government have found out about this?
I was going to say that, Viv. Why has it just come out now?
Because somebody squealed that wants to do the same thing. If she has to go out on the steam packet, and this has come from her, that with a vehicle to get her the pullets and back again, it will cost her £1,100.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of eggs to get that.
You bet it does as well. And I'm trying to think, how long has she been in business now?
About 27, 28 years.
Well, that speaks for itself, Viv. So we wish. So if you could speak to Claire Barber, the Agriculture Minister, what would you say?
Get that piece of paper signed. And you know one of the reasons that they're not allowed to take them? Because nobody on board has been taught how to kill a bird if anything goes wrong. Now, if they don't know how to pull a chicken's neck, I'm sorry, I think everybody knows that. Every Boy Scout knows that.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that, Viv. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, 27 minutes past 12. By the way, got to say hi to Christopher McLaughlin, our latest weekend winner, the winning weekend winner on Manx Radio. Thanks to Tell Skips, Chris got £200 to spend at 1886 in Douglas. They were spotting where the Tell Skip was around the Isle of Man. And there's another winning weekend coming this Saturday and Sunday. You can win a real Christmas tree and a set of lights from Ramsey Garden Centre. So go to manxradio.com or you can check it out on the Facebook page. Yes, there's a meeting this coming Wednesday, Station Hotel, Port St Mary and Station Road, 7 o'clock, free entry there. It's a presentation on the potential practical, financial and legal issues with onshore and offshore wind farms, and there's a discussion on the proposed geothermal alternative. Graham Foxhume, friend of Mannin Line, Graham's been on a few times. Graham will be there. Also, former MHK Peter Carron will be there. That's the Station Hotel, Port St Mary, that's coming Wednesday. And by way of balance, the week after that, Monday 20th, Orsted, the Orsted team, the people who are bidding to put the offshore wind farm off the Isle of Man, they've got a week of community information drop-ins starting on Monday the 20th at Laxey Glen Pavilion, Tuesday at Milltown in Lazaire Road, Wednesday at the Kelvin Dawson Community Hub, Peel Football Club. Thursday they're going to be at the Erin Arts Centre in Port Erin, and Saturday at the Prom Suite in the Villa Marina. So that's this Wednesday for the onshore and offshore wind farm issues presentation, if you like, at the Station Hotel. And the week after that, a week of drop-ins with Orsted, the people who are bidding to do that. So you got any thoughts on, do you think we are losing our resilience? Do you think we're losing our strength, really, in producing food on the Isle of Man? Or, in the grand scheme of things, do you think it actually matters? Do you think this is... a note in from John in Laxey, who just said there are a lot of young families with restricted finances, and they're making the choice, they have to buy the cheapest. They have to buy the cheapest, and they can't buy local or Manx purely because it does tend to be more expensive. Well, if you've got any thoughts on this... Oh, 2 trees, by the way. Trees definitely to write to the locals, says Dick. He said, we're in an absolute pandemic of trees, particularly ash trees and other species falling or having to be felled across the Isle of Man. The Islands Woodland Society, on their own website, say up to 300,000 ash trees, or a quarter of the trees on the Isle of Man, could contract ash dieback and die. After that, of course, the trunk rots, and then you see everywhere what's happening. It's not just a hoolie blowing trees over, because we have ash dieback everywhere, and it was only found on the Isle of Man first in 2017. Now, anybody who believes government is spending millions felling trees for the sake of it in the middle of a financial crisis is crazy. It's not the fault of anyone, but these rotten trees are a risk. They're at risk of killing somebody. just take a look at the stump or what's left of it, and people will be glad they weren't under them when they fall. So rotting trunks. So DEFRA and the minister need to write to anyone who's living near rotted out trees. It was raised years ago in Timwell by Geoffrey Boots. It's that long ago. But Claire Barber only gave it 30 seconds at the end of the programme the last time she was on. We need more than that before somebody's seriously injured. I don't think Claire Barber only gave it 30 seconds. We just only had 30 seconds. It was one of many subjects that came up. It's a big problem. And there is absolutely nothing we can do about it. When a tree gets ash dieback, they are on the way out. There's no coming back from it. Farmers aren't paid for food production anymore. They're paid for the land they own to plant trees, says Marie. We get Gelling's eggs, £2.50 for loads. I can't exactly remember. Normally considered too small to sell, but we get them at the farmer's market. All the best to you. And thank you, Cooley, batch cooking for the freezer on a grim day. It's a day for batch cooking, isn't it? Here's a message in that just said the government won't be able to ensure energy security when they can't even secure the Manx food supply. And just one point. At the moment, Tesco only have one outlet. Sure enough, they're putting stuff into ShopRite shops at the moment. But when Tesco have 9 outlets and we get a day like today with 24 hours of no boats, what's going to happen then, do you wonder? ShopRite used to pride themselves on having lots of stuff in store. But we'll see. Farmers aren't growing wheat here, says Texter 223. There's a big shortage of milling wheat in the UK and the EU now due to the Ukraine war. It is fetching a premium price. Surely there's something we can do about that. Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
Hey, how are you, Andy?
I'm flying my kite at the moment.
Yes, I hear it's a bit windy. I was just listening to Howard there before. Is that new £2 coin is going to be a bit bigger in it? It'll have to be a bit bigger to get them ears in, I suppose, won't it?
That's your OBE gone anyway.
Yeah, I think that went quite a while ago. And just following on there from what Julian was saying, and I've been on this subject now for a long time, and I've questioned Claire Barber on this programme a long time. And you do have to follow, and again, I think it's back to what you said, Andy, about people don't care, lazy, until the problem comes knocking on their door. And I think it's coming knocking on the door pretty soon, and I've seen this coming for such a long time, and that's why I've asked these questions. I think bureaucracy comes into the problem here. I think these either the politicians or the chief executives are following some kind of bureaucracy which we don't need to get involved in. The size of food, the shape it's got to be. How much does it actually really cost to produce our own food? How much does it actually really cost to have allotments and just have it on a bigger scale? And I think bureaucracy comes into mind here, like we just said about Gellings and the egg situation. It's just pure and utter bureaucracy. I don't think anyone has to be short of food in this day and age. You know, people can grow food quite easily. And I think the support of government to keep this island going, and never mind what everyone else is doing, let's keep this island going, let's keep our food sufficiency and sustainability.
Now, if the Chief Minister and the government's plan is to attract 15,000 more people here, and obviously make them stay here as well, then part of that is if people are coming from other jurisdictions, they won't know the Manx way of doing things. Half of the people don't even know it's not in the UK. So if we're to tell people, you can't stand over people and instruct them. People have to, it's more carrot than stick, and just say, look, if you spend locally, there's a multiplier, and it helps the whole economy. The moment you spend and the money goes off the Isle of Man, it goes off.
And, on that point there, Andy, I mean, a lot of people you talk to who come to live on the Isle of Man have come for the way of life that we have here. And for some reason, the government are trying to change this within itself. That they're not putting anything into our historical values. And this, again, is going back to what we've said before about the bigger reports about blockization and getting rid of your actual history and historic value of where you are and just become a place to live. And that's what they're trying to do in the bigger picture. And I think the Isle of Man should fight it. And if we don't, we're going to lose it. And we're going to lose it very, very quickly the way things are going. And as I said, for the way of life. And looking at London, I've been down in London this weekend, and some graphic scenes down there, and of the violence. I was filming some of the protesting, and people, it's broken Britain. And we have got the ability to save the Isle of Man. I don't know whether the government and the executives, or some of them, let me say some of them, there's some hard-working people within government, but I'm just wondering whether some of them have got our best places in heart here to support the Isle of Man. And especially, I've said before, the two main things we need to keep going in any kind of problem is power sustainability and food sustainability. And they're messing around with both of them at the moment. Now, 500,000 up to now, and they haven't broke ground at Erie Staying, and Tim Krukall thinks that he's chuffed about that. And an infrastructure that's going to cost over 25 million before we even turn a blade. Well, that says a lot in itself, doesn't it?
Okay. All right, Joan, thanks for being on.
Take care, Andy.
Good to hear from you. And Eric's with us now. Hi, Eric.
Hello, Andy. Thanks for having me on. I promise I have tried to deal with this myself, but I'm exasperated, so I thought I'd turn to the Mannin Line for a bit of assistance. To cut a long story short, I've had to go to a government department to register quite an important document. I was doing a friend a favour because they couldn't get out. I was told quite clearly that, we can register the document, but there is a fee. I said, oh, that's fine. I'll pay the fee in case it hasn't already been paid. And the lady said, well, you won't get a refund if you pay the fee and it's already been paid. I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, we don't have any refund policy. I said, well, that's ridiculous. And we're not talking a couple of quid. It was actually quite an expensive fee. And the lady was quite clear that if I chose to pay twice, well, it's basically my problem. I won't get a refund, and it's up to me what I decide to do.
Why would you pay twice?
Exactly. So quite exasperated by this. I dwelt on it. I left it for 24 hours, and I thought, no, I'm not letting this one settle. So I rang the said government department, and I said, what's going on here? I said, I've been told that if I pay twice, with good intention, that I'm not going to get a refund. And I said, yes, that's right. We don't have a refund policy. If you choose to pay twice for this service, then it's tough. You won't get your money back. I went to the government in a command. I was promised phone calls, emails, responses. We're now nearly 4 weeks after the event, and I'm still to get a reply. Now, if this is going on at a government level, one, it's wrong, and two, if a very small amount of the population fall for this nonsense, then the government are on quite a good earner, because, as I say, the fee was quite expensive.
Can you tell us which department and what was the fee for?
I did say to your editor I wasn't going to single out the fee. Oh, okay. It was to register a document. Needless to say, I have taken it up with the department involved, and I'm getting absolutely nowhere with them. And it's become a spot that needs to be scratched, basically. So the reason for ringing you guys is to see if anyone else has been in a similar situation. And is the government that arrogant that it can turn around to members of the public and say, if you pay twice, it's tough. We're not just going to reverse a transaction on a card machine, which is not a very difficult thing to do.
Did they say, I mean, apart from just saying there's a no refund policy, was there any kind of reasoning behind that?
None whatsoever. I said, well, it's simply a case of reversing a transaction on a card machine. And she said, well, no, we can't do that. We don't have a policy. I said, well, you need to get a policy then, don't you? And it went round in circles. I've still not had a satisfactory explanation. I'm kind of hoping that somebody else will come on and who may have had a similar experience to see if this is routine. Hearing out.
No, that's good.
I've managed to grasp the spot, and it's nice to speak to you, Andy.
Good. Eric, thanks for that. And there goes the call. If you've come across this policy from government for paying for a service, and then if you happen to pay twice, do you get a refund? So is there a no refund policy from the government?
When you save a little money, it means a lot these days.
If you're looking for bathrooms and tiles, you'll always find something new in store at Pacesetter. For surprisingly affordable prices and excellent choice, search online for Pacesetter Douglas. Or better still, visit the Pacesetter Bathroom and Tile Showroom on Harris Terrace and see the new styles in store.
You can get the best of everything, where the price is twice as nice.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows laid in rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
I began to struggle with the stairs, but I didn't want to leave our family home. So my daughter told me about Acorn Stair Lifts and their new showroom in Douglas. I was able to try the stair lifts and find the right one for me and the home I love. They were so friendly. The whole process was hassle-free and they offered the whole package from installation to servicing. Choose the island's first choice for stair lifts. Acorn Stair Lifts, South Quay, Douglas.
Call Acorn Stair Lifts now on 672 414 or call into our Douglas showroom.
Walk through the northern lights into a land of ice and snow at Ramsey Garden Centre. Indoor and outdoor lights, a magical range of real and artificial trees, decorations, gifts and much more. Christmas at Ramsey Garden Centre, Albert Road.
Port Erin resident James Fenton is 101 years old. At the age of 20, he enlisted into the British Army, and after basic training, Bombardier James Fenton of the Royal Artillery was sent to fight with the 14th Army in the steamy jungles of Burma.
We had to be very aware of cholera and insect bites. Malaria was another thing. We were shelled every night without fail.
Hear James Fenton's amazing story as part of Manx Radio's Remembrance for 2023 at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and again as a podcast straight afterwards at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Fast am I? It's 17 minutes before 1. Jill's on now. Hi, Jill.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Right, apart from being blown away. Right, just a quick one, talking about Jackie Farragher's eggs.
Yeah.
Now, presumably the other egg producers are going to be in the same position, because I would have thought, I'd like to be proved wrong, that people like Gellings and all the other ones have to bring their pullets over from England. And, okay, it's just a question of signing a bit of paper, but that will no doubt cost money. So what's going to happen to the rest of the Manx eggs producers?
I wonder.
I mean, some of the small ones possibly raise their own, but I would have thought sort of the bigger ones don't. But another thing that worries me tremendously is Manx meat. Now, ShopRite did buy a certain amount of Manx meat, as far as I could see, not a tremendous amount. Unless Tesco buy the same amount or more, surely there's not going to be enough throughput put to the abattoir or Manx meats. So it's all very well. I mean, I personally buy everything from the butcher, but there won't be any butchers because there isn't a meat plant. And then what happens to the farmers?
Well, this is the whole, the continuum of all this, is that, you know, when you start pulling a string, sometimes you don't know what's at the other end. And at the moment we have a creamery, we have a meat plant, yes. We have an agricultural industry. We used to have our own bakery that used all the wheat that we could grow. Right. And I just wonder whether this is starting to fragment at the edges.
I'm sure it it is, but it is, I mean, I know the meat plant sort of had its problems with the throughput and everything else, but the fact remains that unless Tesco's, and we can't persuade them to, presumably, but unless they buy as much, if not more, than ShopRite did, there won't be enough to go through, so we won't have any butchers either.
Well, the outgoing chair of the Office of Fair Trading, Mr. Wannenberg, said that our monopoly legislation was woefully inadequate when it came to Tesco taking over the 9 shops of ShopRite. But obviously that ship has now sailed yet. It's now what we do for the future.
It is. Also, I mean, I wonder what Robinsons are going to do, because obviously they're not going to have their presence in the Tesco supermarkets. Are they going to, because they're very good supporters of local produce, but unless they have more standalone shops, which I doubt they can afford to do, that's going to be more producers going about. Now, the whole situation worries me tremendously, but particularly the egg thing. I think, you know, up in around Ramsey, we've got quite a few little producers who come along to farmers markets and things, and their eggs, I mean, I'm still paying £2 for a box of eggs from a local producer, and whether they bring pullets in, I would rather think they did. So there's just great big question marks, and I'm very concerned about it.
Okay, all right. I appreciate you calling today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Okay, bye-bye. I got a note in from, I knew Sheila Gorn will be on, and she said, Andy, affordable produce is available from the 4 farmers markets. Produce is brought direct from the producers, which in turn helps the local economy. Farmers markets carried on trading during COVID. They sure did, to ensure food was available for island residents. We continue to offer quality products at affordable prices with full traceability. Thank you, Sheila. Brilliant Manx honey at the farmers markets. And top quality skeet. You do get top quality skeet at the farmers markets. Here's Sean now. Hi, Sean.
Hello, Andy. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Yeah, just following on from what Ewan was saying earlier about food production on the Isle of Man. I mean, and that lady who's just been on about Farragher's eggs and the other egg producers. We've got, and I've said this to you, God knows how many times, we've got the best produce on the Isle of Man. We've got the best vegetables. Okay, there's only, I think I heard on Saturday at the plough match, there's 45 acres under vegetables now. But you know, you don't have to go far to get top quality produce, and we've been selling stuff at the Melias this last few months. It's nearly the end of the Melia season, and the spuds, and people look amazed at you when they see dirt on the soil on the potatoes and soil on the carrots, and it's like, where have you been? You know, it's a no-brainer, and I hate that phrase, no-brainer, but we have got the best beef, lamb, pork, the best vegetables, the best crops, because we're isolated in the island and in the Irish Sea here. We haven't got the same disease risk as they have in the UK, and in the UK they love our produce because it's so clean. There's no pest disease, there's no very little animal disease. So you know, I'm just banging the drum for the farmers again, because I know a lot of them don't like to come on here, you see.
So what do we do then? How do we make this, first of all, how do we make it sustainable for people in the business of producing food to stay in that business for now and for the future, Sean?
You need to remove this red tape, and that would simplify so much. There's so much red tape involved in farming, you would not believe. And like Farragher's bringing the eggs in, I mean, I've got a livestock license to move livestock across the water and what have you for up to 8 hours. I'd be quite happy to go and get these pullets for them, and I have done in the past. I've brought pullets over in the lorries before, but because of red tape and because the cost of the steam packet, and here's another spot that wants picking, like that man said before. The cost on the steam packet is unbelievable to get movement across for everybody, not just for the farmers, for everybody. And we own it. So why the hell can't they all speak? And they've been going to for the last 12 months. When I first rang up about a thing called road mileage equivalency, and all you keep getting from the ministers is, oh, well, we're talking about it. But they're talking, and we're a year down the line, and there's bugger all been done, and it's the same throughout government. If you remove some of this red tape, things would move. I mean, farmers are eternal optimists. Look at the weather for the last 3, 4, 5 months. It's been absolutely shocking. Everybody's just about managed to get the harvest in. You know, everywhere's underwater. And, you know, they're still, 90% of them are still smiling. I've been out this morning getting livestock, and, there's a lot of doom and gloom, and morale is very low, but we're all still hanging on in there. But for how much longer?
All right.
I've spoken to the minister, and, there's nothing moving, there's nothing happening in government.
All right, Sean.
It's always the case.
Thanks for that. Good to hear from you. 10-1 now.
There's a new way to Subway with 2 fantastic menus. Which will you go for? The all-new Subway series with 15 irresistible creations like the Big Bombay Sub, Great Goddess Salad, Emperor Wrap and Big Cheesesteak Sub Melt. Or create your own. You pick the ingredients you want and build your own sub, salad or wrap the way you want it. There's a great mix of healthy and indulgent menu items available from Subway in ShopRite Port Erin.
Everyone's more conscious of energy usage nowadays. So Manx Utilities has begun installing smart meters for standard domestic customers island-wide. With our Smart Living app available too, you'll be in control of tracking and managing your energy. No need to contact us. We'll be in touch when we're ready to fit your smart meter. Visit the Smarter Living page at manxutilities.im. Manx Utilities, delivering a smarter future.
Excited about starting your new business but feel daunted by accounts, tax and VAT? Then talk to Nicola Bowker & Co. before you do anything else. From expert advice to getting a helping hand, Nicola Bowker & Co. can help and guide you. Call 861 271.
Gifts and toys to pet supplies and bird food, winter garden supplies and much more. Riley's Garden Centre has everything you need for the festive season. So call in at Cool Road, Braddon, or visit rileys.co.im and get set for Christmas at Riley's.
RS Promotions presents A Night of Disco Fever with Boney M, featuring Maisie Williams in the Royal Hall Villa Marina on Friday the 1st of December. Get your dancing shoes on for all the classic hits live, plus your 70s and 80s disco favourites from special guests Heatwave and an after-show DJ. Book now at villagaiety.com or on 600 555. The legendary Boney M featuring Maisie Williams, supported by your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Isle of Man government risks fanning the flames of a world on fire, according to the Green Party's Andrew Langan-Newton. But is he right? The claim is made as government looks to vary the conditions of Kroger's gas exploration licence, which has received intense scrutiny in recent Keys sittings. There does seem to be a growing chorus of international organisations and governments suggesting that further attempts to find fossil fuels will cause real danger to the future of humanity. But is this just scaremongering? Find out on Agenda this evening at 6 p.m. on Manx Radio with me, Phil Gaughan. More screechy greenwashing or a wake-up call for our future? You decide.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
7 minutes before 1. Steve's on now. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Andy. How you doing? You okay?
Good, thanks. Yeah, what's on your mind?
Good, man. I just listened to that gentleman when he said he went to the, I think it was a court, or if he went to the government department and he had to pay a fee to have papers.
Yeah.
Apply for the papers to be served and things. Well, when they turn around and tell you that they're not going to give you the money back from the government department, I find that absolutely shocking because it's against the law. It's called obtaining wrongful credit. Now, what they're saying is, a small business example, a mechanic can repair a car. The guy calls up over the phone while he's picking the car up at night. He pays over the phone. He doesn't speak to his wife. She turns up and pays again on the card when she gets there. What they're saying is they're allowed to keep that money. No, they're not. They have to return that money because they've obtained wrongful credit. And for a government department to stand there and then he calls up and another person tells him that they can't have his money back. It's like, hang on. It's against the law. It's not right what they're doing. And it should be. If it's a small company or a private business, you'd be dragged through social media. You'd be all sorts of trouble.
I've never heard of this before, Steve.
No, I've had it once when I went to the small claims many years ago, and I had to serve papers. I won the case, and the person never, did what they were told to do. I thought, right, might have been this. I went straight back on the end of the day. Bang, put the check down. I want to go back and get this through the courts again. Very same day, the person paid me. Got home, there was a check. Great. Went back. Oh, well, if you've paid again, can't refund you. I said, look, I want my money back. I was paid by a check. Oh, well, hang on a minute. It might still be in the office. Luckily enough, it was still in the office, and I got my check handed back over the counter. But what they were saying was, if that check had gone, I wouldn't get my money back. But I would have thought that I would have got my money back because it's wrong. You don't pay for something if no one takes money off you unless you owe them money, you've had a service off them, or you've bought something off them. Otherwise, it's obtaining wrongful credit, Andy, and it's wrong. And it should be dragged through the coals, that department. Names of the people who are saying this over the phone should be taken. Should be an investigation going.
Interesting.
All right. It's wrong, Andy.
Thanks for the information, Steve. Good to hear from you.
Take care.
All right.
All the best.
It's 5-1. Thank you, Steve. Manx Radio recently featured the pianist and composer Ronnie Aldrich as the premier dance orchestra of the 50s and 60s. Hugely important. Remember the Squadronaires? Very important to the Manx economy. Principal summer tourist attraction in its own right. And, of course, for a long time, there was a real battle of the bands between Ronnie Aldrich and the Squadronaires at the Palace Ballroom and Joe Loss at the Villa Marina, and meantime, dear old Ivy Benson in the Villa Marina Gardens. Well, Richie said Ronnie's old home, which is a prominent and distinctive Strathallan castle at Port St Mary's, uninhabited, closed up and mouldering away. Is that true? I didn't know that. Is it true? Can't we do something about it? Is it not our heritage, says Richie. Actually, Ronnie Aldrich was featured in a couple of emails that we've been talking about. You know, the idea of the big Manx Museum with the TT and the Bee Gees and Radio Caroline and Norman Wisdom, George Formby, Frank Matcham, and the P50 as well. Somebody said Ronnie Aldrich was one of, and of course Ronnie Aldrich and his two pianos, artistically enormous in the United States. Real big business his albums did in America. So we're building up the case for the Big Manx Museum. Well, we'll see. Right, tomorrow, Clive Callister's on the air. Clive Callister, expert in tidal and wave power, and more to come. We'll catch you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
WINT